Also, during this time, my dad, I got sick a lot, so I'm prone to laryngitis, bronchitis, any throat infection. It's like immediate for me. So I've always had a raspy voice because of that. And I remember being in the hospital for like the third time with another throat infection. And this was like I had thrush. I wasn't on medication, so even after my diagnosis, at this time the CDC guidelines were not to immediately put people on treatment. It was only if your CD4 count dropped below 200.
Okay.
And I was still at a really good number. The doctors were like, "You're fine to not take medication," and that was a risk that they were comfortable with at the time because the medications in the past had been so harsh.
Harsh, yeah.
Also, the doctor I was referred to not by the health department, but by my OBGYN. I was the very first person she'd ever diagnosed. I left this part out. She had tears. I was like, "Why are you crying?"
Right.
I didn't say that to her because I'm like, whatever, I just wanted to get out of her office. But she referred me to a private infectious disease doctor who was like a ground zero doctor from like in the early 80s when people were dying from, I can never pronounce the cancer, the skin cancer that you get, Kaposi sarcoma, and other pneumonias and things of that nature. So he was adamant that I get on treatment. The treatment he wanted me on was like for folks who were in like the final stages of AIDS. But he knew this, he understood the science enough that if you put her on the strongest medication, you'll save her life and she'll be able to like be okay. That's not how he articulated that to me. He literally yelled at me in the office. I will never forget him, and I fired him. I remember I was taking a drug called Kaletra and Camavir. I don't know if you're funded by pharma, if I'm allowed to say
No,
that.
you're allowed to say.
Okay. So I was taking those two treatments. It was, I think Kaletra was 3 pills twice a day. The Camavir was 3 pills twice a day, 6. I don't remember how many pills I was taking. It was a lot. That's what I remember. It was a lot.
Over 6, I'm sure.
Over 6.
Wow.
The side effects I was having was I couldn't keep my food down, so I had to like time them out. Learned I couldn't have grapefruit juice anymore, which was me and my granny's favorite thing to drink. We would literally have a glass of grapefruit juice together. And then she learned she couldn't have it because she was on blood pressure medication. So it was interesting how we went through things similar in our medical journey together. But I remember there was a day, I'm now at a different job. I work at a private investigation company, and my job was to watch videos all day. I remember taking the medication, and this is probably the third day this happened, and I started hearing pss, 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 like I'm hearing stuff. And I'm in the office by myself because I would come in early. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like that. And my head would start to hurt. And I was like, I'm not taking this medication anymore because that's the only time that happens. There was a day where I was under my desk because I was trying to get away from the voices or the noise.
Wow.
My manager walked in, and she was so kind. My manager, she looks down under the desk. She goes, I don't know what's going on. I know you just had a baby. We need you to go home and figure it out and then come back and let us know. She could have just fired me.
Of course.
But I think I freaked her out. And so from under the desk, I called the doctor. I was like, I'm not taking this medication anymore. You got to find something else for me. He gets on the phone and yells at me. He's like, there is nothing else. This is what you need to be on. Because there were no guidelines for newly diagnosed folks.
We don't have the information that we do now.
Absolutely not. And this was 2003. So I was like, cool, fine. I just won't be seeing you anymore. Cancel my appointment. Hung up on him, and I stayed out of care for... I didn't get back into care until 2007.
Okay. So
4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and in that 4 years, I wasn't vocal about my status. A lot happened. The catalyst was I had a Healthy Start worker come to my home to help me with my development of my child. Do the little check marks. So she's crawling at the right age. Her dexterity is right, all that stuff. The first visit, I meet her at the door. I might start crying because I love this woman so much. I meet her at the door, and she lets me know who she is. I said, before you come in, I have to tell you, nobody came to Granny's house. So I was just like, I have HIV before you come in. And she said, okay. She says, where's the baby? I was like, okay, she's in her playpen playing. And she did her appointment. At the end of the appointment, she's setting me up for my next one. And she looks at me and she goes, now that we got all that taken care of, why did you feel the need to tell me your status? I was like, because you're coming in my house and I don't. She's like, I'm not having sex with you. And I was like,
Yeah.
clutch my pearls.
Oh, great.
No. She's like, I'm not coming in contact with your bodily fluid. Do you know how HIV is transmitted? And at this time I did. But I still thought I had to protect everybody. Because that's how people made me feel. Like, I have to protect everybody around me. And so she talked to me. And she said to me, she goes, are you in care? And I was like, this is not the 4 years later. This is still when my baby is a baby. So she's 1 at this point. And I was like, no. She's like, well, I can connect you to people. I refused. Because the guy traumatized me. I was like, absolutely not. She's like, okay, let's start with a different option. She's like, do you want to meet other people that are living with this that you can talk to? And I was like, I guess. And she's like, okay, I don't want to be pushy. When you feel like it, she said, I want you to write a letter and put everything in that letter. And then I'll read it. And then we'll talk then. And so I was like, whatever. I was just worried about the baby. I was like, is the baby fine? And so I journaled a lot. Because I'm also still low-key planning my funeral. I'm also trying to write a book for my baby. Because I'm like, if I die, I want her to know my truth from me. Because when people die, all sorts of secrets and lies come out. And I was like, not on my watch.
Right.
So,
I love it.
So I started journaling, and I kept remembering this letter. I was like, let me write this stupid letter. Long story short to that, I write the letter. She asked me permission to give it to a trusted colleague. That ended up being Yvonne Cobbett at the health department, and all she asked was, did I ever want to come, do an outreach event? No pressure about going to the doctor, no pressure about talking about anything. She's like, just do you want to come and see what it's like to get people encouraged to get tested? I was like, I guess. So it was on a Saturday. The next thing she invited me to was there was a local church that was having a National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day event. This is now 2007, so now she's trying to get me in care. So she's been slowly just talking with me, sitting with me. I show up to events. The Healthy Start worker found out that my mom and her all went to high school together. So she knew my daughter's father and my church people, small world.
Wow.
And so she would just come by the house just to come by the house. I call her my daughter's third mom because she helped me raise my baby. So Yvonne has been working with me and introducing me to different people, and I don't know who all these people are. I'm just connecting, and I'm not really talking about I have HIV. I'm just listening to them. Mm-hmm. And I forgot what it was that I said, but she pulled out the letter. She goes, you remember when Kathy gave this to me? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, read it. And so I read it, and I started crying. So I'm like, wow, I was really scared. I wanted to die. And she's like, and look at you now. You're not that person. And she's like, do you think you can see that transformation and share it with a group of people at a church for a national? Because I asked her, are there any awareness days around this? All I kept finding was World AIDS Day. And she's like, we got our own day. She's like, National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. I want you to come to the town hall. And so what I didn't know is 2 people from the state health department were coming down to do an assessment of the county and look at services and things like that nature. So I didn't know that I was there to influence how they were. I didn't know that's kind of what I was being utilized for. Mm-hmm. So I go to the church, but before I go to the church, there's also a news reporter that wants to do an article because there's no black women in my county at this time that are talking about it. She goes, would you be interested in being on the front page of the life section of the paper and talking about this? So now I'm like, wait, I got to talk to some people. So I went to Mom first. Mom and I have healed past certain things, and we're getting along. I essentially get permission from everybody, but the main people I was concerned about, my last name, my maiden last name is actually my mother's married first last name. So it's my sister's last name. It's her people. And they're very well known in Bartow. And I was like, I have their name, and if I know I want to do this, I know I want to be public, but I'll change my name. Like, I'll go anonymous or I'll do something, but I want to talk to them first. I don't just want to attach them and their legacy to this if they don't want to be attached to it.
Right.
And so I went to the Grandma Lulu was alive, but they wanted me to go to my aunt. She's still my family too. And so I went to Aunt Margie and asked her, and she seemed surprised. She's like, if that's what God wants you to do, who am I to be in the way of that?
Right.
And she says, thank you for asking. Thank you for taking that into consideration, but do what God told you to do. We'll be all right. And so I was like, cool. The next thing I wanted to do was I didn't want my friends to, because Google was becoming a thing. I didn't want my friends to see the article and then be shocked.
Because you had not disclosed to
I hadn't
them.
disclosed to anybody. Sorry, high school boyfriend knew. I'll tell you that story in a second.
Okay.
High school boyfriend knew, and baby daddy knew. Two different stories. MySpace is a thing.
Ooh, my.
Blogging is becoming a thing. So I go on my MySpace blog. I think this is like one of two of the first entries I ever did. And I say, does anybody know the significance of February 7th? And of course, nobody knew. People were guessing. And I was like, you'll find out soon. And so February 7th, I wrote this whole thing, told my story, and I ended it with, I'm living with HIV. I was blown away by the love and support that I got. It was overwhelming. Thinking about it now, I couldn't breathe. People that I hadn't talked to since I left college were like, oh my God, you're so brave. Thank you for sharing. This is so powerful. I told my childhood best friend. I was scared. I told her, I was like, I know we're probably not going to be friends anymore because the guy she was with was her fiance, and he's a germaphobe. And I was like, I understand, you're trying to build a life together. I will always love you as my friend. She said, shut up. You were here before he was.
Right.
He will be okay.
Love that for her.
She was so mad at me because I went through this whole dramatic thing. Later, he came to me and said that he had a relative that died from AIDS, and if I needed anything, he was always going to have my back. We didn't actually get along, so for him to do that, I was like, okay, all right, I guess you get a brownie point for that. So, high school boyfriend. I tell him he's already processed and accepted the fact that I've had some other man's baby, and we're trying to work on being together. And so I remember we're sitting on the couch. God, I remember what I was wearing that day too. And I tell him, and I was already prepared myself for him to leave and never talk to me again. So I tell him, he looks at me, he's like, you've got to be kidding me. And he gets up and he leaves. And I did this whole I literally did a wall slide. I went to the door, I watched him drive off, I slid down the wall. It was a lot. I'm laughing, but it was a lot. Because I was home by myself. The baby was at daycare. And I go to the bathroom to rinse my face and be preparing myself to be depressed, and I hear a knock on the door. And I come back, I pull the curtain, and there he is looking at me smiling. And I open the door, it's like, what are you grinning? What is this?
Yeah.
And he goes, I should be more mad about the pregnancy because that you kept from me, and you kind of did that on purpose. I didn't, but he's like, but you didn't do this on purpose. You didn't ask for this. And I was like, okay, logic, I guess. And so he hugged me. He's like, I don't understand everything, but I'm not going to be that dude that abandons you.
Oh, wow.
And in my head, I heard wedding bells. I was like, we're getting married.
Yeah.
So we start to build a relationship. We get together. We date. I'm convinced that I'm going to marry this man because he actually wanted to be intimate with me. So he was the first person I was intimate with after my diagnosis.
Wow.
He went and got educated. He helped me pause and get educated. We were sneaking in the house, doing stuff.
Was part of that education you equals you? Was that a thing then?
It was not a thing then.
Okay.
It was science. The science was there, but the campaign, the advocacy, the understanding as a patient was not there.
Right.
So we absolutely used protection. And then he wanted to join the Navy. He tried college, didn't work out. His football scholarship didn't go through. And so we ended up breaking up. He was like, I can't do long distance, and I don't want to hold you back from your life. Because at this point, I've now become public. And so he's attached to that. And so he's attached to that, and I think some of it was he didn't want to hold me back. Because he always encouraged me. He saw, good things in me. He was always telling me what I was capable of. But there was also the stigma, I don't think he wanted to be attached to this woman being public and then having everybody know his business, essentially. So we broke up, but it was also, he cheated on me. Yeah. But I was willing to take him back. Like, that's how much I was just like, at this point, stigma had got to me. I was like, no one else is going to want to be with me.
Right.
I will take you back.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're not doing that. We can stay friends. And we stayed friends for years. It wasn't until like recently, the past 5 years, we've kind of lost touch. Baby daddy, I told him and warned him, because I already knew about one child. It's like, I heard you got another lady pregnant. If you don't tell her that you've potentially been exposed, I knew at this point that he couldn't transmit and that he didn't have it. But I wanted him to get tested. I was like, if you don't go get tested, I'm going to tell her. And I wasn't necessarily in the right for that. Like, it wasn't my place. But also, I was thinking, like, I don't want anybody's blood on my hands. Anybody who's 6 degrees of separation from me, I'm telling.
Right.
And so I told him, and he was like, why are you being so inappropriate words about this or whatever? And I was like, I'll tell you why. Because for the past, I think it had been a year that I told him, I waited a year to tell him. I was like, for the past year, I let my family think that you were the one I got it from. I never said that. They assumed it.
Right.
Because he was the last person I was with. My mom assumed it, my mom ran with a lot of untruths. She was coping in some really weird ways. I'd rather not speak on those because I didn't find those things out till later, things that she was telling people, because she didn't want to accept the fact that I chose to have a one-night stand and sleep with somebody, so she was saying other things happened. She
Also, mom was dealing with her own
her
PTSD,
own
a bunch
PTSD,
of
abuse, a lot was going on with her. Don't fault her for it, but it's still like, really? So my dad got like pieces of those stories that my mom had, and he just assumed I got it from baby daddy, so he always hated him for that. I'm his only child.
Right.
And I let him think it.
You never corrected
Nope,
anyone.
didn't correct him. And so when I finally told baby daddy, he was like, why are you being so weird? And I was like, well, let me reframe this. For the past year, I've let everybody think that it was you. And in this moment, I'm going to ask for your forgiveness. So I then go on an apology and forgiveness tour. Roommate, I asked her for her forgiveness because I asked her to keep my pregnancy a secret from my mom. She's the worst liar in the world. But it put her under a lot of anxiety. It was another reason why she wanted me to get out of the apartment. Like, it was a lot. I also didn't know with her that her mom died from AIDS.
Oh. So it was also triggering.
I didn't know that, but I triggered her. Yeah. So there was a lot of moving pieces, which is why I know that my diagnosis, as horrible as it can be for many, many people, I know it was divine for me. I refuse to let anybody tell me differently. I didn't want this, but I know it happened for a reason. And that's not like a delusional acceptance. I've paid attention to the people in my life that otherwise wouldn't know what it's like to be vocal and to try to eliminate stigma if I didn't in my own little circle. I don't know about my larger impact, but I know for my circle the impact that I've had because they've told me. You did ask me a question about getting in care.
Yes, at what point do you get into care?
I bounce around. So 2007, I finally go into the health department, and I met he's not there anymore, but Dr. Haight was there. He was amazing. And he was explaining to me, like, about nutrition and my viral load. I think even then, he still wasn't ready for me to be on medication. He said if I wanted to, I could choose to. But he's like, you don't have to. Your numbers are still good. So I put it off. What started happening, though, was I didn't know I was anemic. So I was getting really tired a lot. And I had lost weight again. And you can probably still see it now, but I get a swelling on it looks like my lymph node, but it's not my lymph node. It's called the parotid gland.
Okay.
Don't quite know what it is. I've had biopsies done of it. It's nothing major. It's just a tissue growth on top of a gland. If I have it, it's smaller. If it gets larger and I have it removed, I'll have a scar on my face. That happens from me not taking my treatment. I don't know why. That's my side effect. I don't get sick to the stomach. Everybody's different, but that's my side effect. That's my visual symbol-like girl. And it's happened so many times for me bouncing in and out of care that I think this is the smallest it'll ever be. So 2007, I was in care, got back out. I don't remember why. I think it was an insurance issue. 2009, right before I met my husband, I got back into care. That doctor, not my favorite. He wasn't his bedside manner was horrible, the way he talked to people, but he was cool. He got me on treatment. And then there was a point where, now that I've talked to enough folks, the treatment I was on was a 3-pill once-a-day regimen. And I started hearing about this once-a-day regimen. I was like, I want 1 pill.
Right.
And I had to fight him. I literally locked myself in one of the rooms in the health department, because by this time I'm an advocate. So everybody knows if I come up there and I don't have an appointment, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Like now, if I were to drive up there today, they'd be like, oh, why is Kamaria here? I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I use it to my advantage. So this day I had an appointment. It was a 3:00 appointment. I would not leave until they gave me a prescription for the 1-pill regimen. Because I'm like, you can't give me a reason. If you tell me the insurance company is rejecting it, then I'll appeal the insurance company. But it can't be the insurance company, because I also have Ryan White. So give me my medication.
Yeah.
And so the nurse, she was new, didn't know me. And she left, and I locked the door. And I just sat there. And when they came back, they're like, Miss Cameron, are you going to let us in? I was like, are you going to give me my prescription? And they're like, hold on. 5:30 comes and goes. I'm still in the room, chilling. And so I left with my prescription that day.
Oh, wow. How long were you in this room?
My appointment was at 3. I think I left at 6:15, something like that.
So like
Because the
3
lobby was
hours.
dark. Yeah. I was like, I'm not playing with
You
y'all.
were not playing.
No. And I'll do that for anybody. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Like, I knew these people, and I even dared one. I was like, I dare you to call the police. And I was like, because I'm in here fighting for my health. So
Right.
I'm not hurting anyone. All I did was lock the door.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they gave me my prescription that day. My mom she chuckled. She thought that was funny. She was actually proud of me. She's like, look at you.